Good morning and welcome to another video, Morning with Ashika. Behind me you can see the clearest night sky outside the studio window. Oh yes, it's 4 in the morning here in Tazi and my favorite time to work on my comic book. The project I call the Spirit Journey is the core of my days now. And it's progressing beautifully. But today I want to talk about a different journey, one that started decades ago in Sopot, Poland. For years I have been the guardian of a massive piece of history. Almost 7,000 original newspaper strips by Janusz Christa from Wieczór Wybrzeża newspaper, along with dozens of original illustrations from the master. I lovingly bound them into 8 large volumes. But the story of these pages is far more than ink on paper. The story of this collection began one afternoon in July 1968, when I was returning home with Wieczór Wybrzeża newspaper. Under the cold gaze of a regime that sought to oppress our spirit, the warm light of a street lamp and strip number 76 opened the doors to my imagination, giving me a glimpse of another world. Now you might wonder how one comic strip could change the life of a kid so dramatically. But in order to continue telling you the journey of my collection, I have to speak here, especially to my non-Polish fans, of the oppressive and scary times we lived under in Soviet-occupied Poland. You see, as a 10-year-old, my knowledge of the political situation was very small, colored only by the propaganda taught in classrooms across the country. And yet, that very night in July '68 became forever embedded in my memory as the moment not only that I decided to start collecting the creative genius of Janusz Christa, but the journey into a different imaginary world of my own as well. Without a doubt, the best place for trading for Kajtki was the Dominican Fair, or Jarmark Dominikański, which reopened in Gdańsk in 1972. I bargained with everything I had there. Old coins, old paper money, stamp albums, and even a large bag of amber chunks I had dug up from Baltic Sea beaches in Sopot. But my greatest assets were the American comics, like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and others, which arrived every Christmas from my grandmother in Vancouver.
American comics for Kajtki! Look at my Kajtki treasures!
My father saw my heart in this. He offered to help me bind my rich collection into 8 albums at the Gdańsk shipyard printing house. Yes, that might have been one of the secret projects that the shipyard became famous for before the Solidarity era. Together we carried the weight of my growing collection, moving toward a future we couldn't yet imagine. And then came the moment that changed everything. This is December 1974. In a crowded bookstore in Gdynia, I am standing far behind the young fans, waiting for everyone to leave so I can have the master to myself. When I finally gathered the courage to stand before Christa with my heavy album, I told him about my upcoming departure to Canada and my dream to venture into the wild Yukon. Janusz carefully looked through my album, then, with a stroke of his blue pen and the most surprising suggestion, he planted an idea that took half a century to realize. He told me to take Kajtki and Coco with me for the adventure of my life. So you see, these books are heavy, not just in weight, but in history. They have traveled from Poland to Canada, Mexico to India, and finally through Asia to the hot, wild reaches of Tasmania. For the last 25 years, during every hot summer, I have stored them safely in a fire bunker, because they are priceless. During the winter months, I have also digitalized this entire body of work. This digital archive is the foundation for the spirit journey, fulfilling the promise I have made to Christa back in 1974. As I am turning 70 soon, it is time for me to find a new, permanent guardian for these beloved albums. I do not want to sell to the highest bidder. My dream is to pass this collection to an institution that will honor and protect Janusz Christa's legacy forever. All right, this really is enough for now. The morning light is already at my window, so it is time for my Tai Chi. But before I leave you, here's one more tasty morsel. Come and join me back in the Yukon at one of my camps by the Porcupine River. I remember how those evenings by the campfire with my dog and my harmonica were magic, especially when Kajtki and Coco would visit me in my thoughts and my imagination. All the best to you all, and I look forward to your next morning visit.